With the first pick in the 2008 NBA Draft, the Chicago Bulls select Derrick Rose from the University of Memphis.
The top selection of the 2008 NBA Draft, Derrick Rose. How does that sound?
It sounds great. It's something I've been looking forward to my whole life.
Ahead, Rose. Jets it! Oh! Get out the way!
What a shot by the Rookie of the Year!
On the court, I just love the game. When I come in, you just have that confidence that you can go out there and do whatever you want.
Lead pass, Rose!
Stop it! Did not do him like that! What are you doing, Dragons? Did you not get the memo? Derrick Rose can go upstairs!
I know you've never been one to back away from a challenge. What kind of expectations do you set for yourself individually going into year 3?
It's high. The way I look at it within myself, why not? Why can't I be the MVP of the league? Why can't I be the best player in the league? I don't see why. Why?
The streets of Inglewood, one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in Chicago, a place where poverty, a lack of resources, and gang activity result in a large number of urban youth being faced with incredible odds just to survive.
7305 South Carolina, this is where we grew up at. It's not about living in Inglewood, it's about surviving in Inglewood. And we just survived, and our mom made the way and kept a roof over our heads, food on the table. When I first knew that Derrick was special, I just said to myself, that he might have a great chance of making it out of here, only if he listened.
I was like the little nigga in the park, always in the park. Even like the court, it'd be snowing, get a shovel, go up there, shovel one side of the court to the other side. Now I got a whole court. And the older guys, they really took basketball serious in my neighborhood. I went, the park that I grew up in was Murray Park. The shit got so crazy, they nicknamed it Murder Park. But they was protecting me. I was the young guy, I had those expectations ever since I was younger. Growing up in them environments, I was able to hold that shit in and express it just solely on the court. I'm hungry at the crib. I'm going through shit. I'm this, I'm that. I'm able to express this shit on the court and take it out on you motherfuckers in my own way.
Already having made a name for himself across the city, Derrick Rose would become a standout prospect at Simeon Career Academy, something that earned him a spot on John Calipari's roster at the University of Memphis, and eventually the keys to his hometown franchise.
You led your high school team to 2 state titles there, so talk to me a little bit more about going back to your hometown, Chicago.
It will be great. My family get to see me more. My friends they get to see me more. I don't got to worry about being homesick. Nothing like that. So I just can't wait to play.
That's the number one thing as far as getting all this out the way, the interviews and the speculation and all that. You just want to play ball?
Yeah, I just want to play right now.
Salmons underneath, and there's Rose with an acrobatic move.
He broke the ankles of Andre Miller on that.
Three was rejected by Rose at the other end. What a great defensive play by Derrick Rose.
Look at Derrick Rose weave through the defense. I tell you, he is such a beautiful talent.
In his first 2 years with Chicago, Rose had already made his mark on the league, being named the NBA's Rookie of the Year in 2009, and having earned his first career All-Star appearance the following year, the first Bull to achieve the honor since Michael Jordan in 1998. Alongside energetic big Joakim Noah and talented two-way forward Luol Deng, Rose and the Bulls had been able to carry the franchise back into yearly playoff contention. Rose knew that in order for Chicago to take the next step, he would need to elevate his game to new heights, something that shifted his focus towards wanting to be the league's best player.
I'm putting all this time in, breaking my fingers, twisting my ankles, and why not be the best? I sacrificed a lot of things. I dedicate my whole life to this game, So why not want to be the best in it?
He wanted to be special from the get. And people, just because he was quiet, people thought that he was like some like real humble kid. No, his dreams and the way that he carried himself was like he was a big dreamer. Like he thought he knew he was great. He knew he was destined for greatness.
I would love to be that guy, to be behind Mike or even get close to him. The way I look at it will be great. People will remember you, and that's why I want people to remember about me.
I want to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor of this project. One of the biggest names in daily fantasy sports, DraftKings and I are teaming up to bring all new customers a winning offer. All new players have to do is sign up for DraftKings using my promo code Trice and put at least $5 on a pregame money line for any basketball game. By doing this, you'll receive an additional $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's $150 in your DraftKings account that can be used for other great features like same-game parlays, where you can combine multiple bets from one game for even bigger winnings. If mobile sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still get in on the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. That means there are plenty of options for you to get in on the daily fantasy sports action just by signing up. There will be a link in the description to get you started playing ASAP. Again, just sign up with the promo code Trice to take your sports viewing experience to a new level. From the moment Rose and the Bulls stepped on the floor for the 2011 season, you could see they were on a mission to prove that Chicago basketball was finally back at the top of the East. A 21-year-old D. Rose had heard the talk throughout the offseason about him needing to make a jump to the next level, but nobody could have predicted just how high he'd go.
By Rose, look out, here's Rose. Derrick Rose putting a show on here at Madison Square Garden.
Rose against Allen. Rose to his left, goes right by. I told you, Neil Thumb, this is MVP time. Get up or get out the way.
Anderson keeps the possession alive before throwing to Derrick Rose. Oh, what a spin! All-star move by an all-star starter.
First of all, he was a hometown kid. So he was from the hood, from the South Side. And, he was Chicago. And I don't care, his run at his peak, if you're from Chicago, you want it to be that. You want it to be the number one pick from the Bulls, having that building rocking the way that he did.
At the top, to his left, lost his dribble, got it back. Joe King, Rose for three. Kaboom! Big time players make big time plays.
Credit to be given. Oh, another turnover. Oh, this is trouble.
Stop it! I want to go higher! That's what I'm talking about right there! That's your point guard, Neil Funk!
Well, I mean, I can tell when a player truly wants to be better, when a player truly wants to improve, and I respect that about them. I admire that, and because that was a quality that I had when I was a kid growing up. And that being said, I mean, I've seen improvement in this game from last year to this year. He has a long-range ball now. He can squat behind the pick and shoot. He can pull up off the dribble and shoot. Him getting to the rim obviously goes, unquestioned. So seeing that improvement shows me that he's putting the time into the gym, and I certainly respect that.
Showcasing a well-rounded skill set to go with his already notorious athleticism, Derrick Rose would be named to his second consecutive All-Star appearance, his first as a starter. The nightly highlights and breakout performances by Rose would help lead the Chicago Bulls to a 62-20 record during the regular season, the franchise's highest win total since winning the 1998 NBA Finals. Outside of just Chicago, Derrick himself had gained a massive following across the world. Now the face of Adidas basketball, with his own line of signature sneakers and million-dollar ad campaigns putting him front and center throughout pop culture, Rose's high-flying dunks and acrobatic layups led to him being one of the most popular players in the entire NBA. On the court, he had gained the respect of some of the game's top players, with his play leading to his name being pushed into the MVP conversation.
The fear that he put in people who played against him, the top guys, I would see fear in their eyes all the time. No moment was too big for him. And it was just awesome to have a floor general like that.
Over the course of the 2011 season, Derrick Rose would average 25 points and 7.7 assists per night, putting together 23 games where he scored at least 30 points, and doing so while also ranking in the league's top 10 for assists. As the regular season came to an end, it was clear that Derrick had done what he set out to do at the start of the year. And on May 3rd, 2011, D. Rose would be named the youngest MVP in NBA history.
I remember coming training camp saying that I wanted to be MVP. I wasn't trying to be cocky at all. I knew that I put a lot of hard work in the summer, in the off season, and I just wanted to push myself, and that was about it. I want to thank my family and friends because y'all the ones that push me every single day, making sure that I'm staying on the right path, staying with me. You know, friends waking me up in the morning, making sure I get to practice, and just staying on the right path and doing everything right. And I'm blessed to have you all in my life. And last but not least, I want to thank my mom. Brother Rose, my heart, the reason I play the way that I play, just everything. Just knowing that days that I don't feel like going into practice, or I'm having a hard time, think about her when she had to wake me up, go to work, and just making sure that I'm all right and making sure the family is all right. Those are hard days. My days shouldn't be hard because I love doing what I'm doing, and that's playing basketball. So you keep me going every day, and I love you, and I appreciate you being in my life. I'm happy that you all picked me, and I'm gonna try my hardest to play the game like I know how to play it, and that's hard. And I love you all. Thank you.
What does it mean for your family to be able to say the most valuable player of the NBA is from Inglewood?
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
Kind of like a Cinderella story or something like that, or a make-believe story. Especially knowing what I went through, what my family went through, and now they're able to do whatever they want. It's unbelievable.
Derrick Rose's career year had helped the Chicago Bulls clinch the #1 seed in the East and returned competitive playoff basketball back to the Madhouse on Madison.
Bulls lead at 55-47. Rose pulls it back. Beautiful move. Yes, and the foul.
Collison slips inside. Oh, recovery by Rose. What a recovery. Rose. Oh, no. How does he do it there?
After eliminating the Pacers and Hawks in the first 2 rounds of the postseason, the 2011 Eastern Conference Finals would be a matchup between the Chicago Bulls and the star-studded Miami Heat, led by reigning league MVP LeBron James and All-Stars Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. The series would be intense from start to finish and would produce some of the most iconic plays of Rose's young career.
Wait a second. Here is Rose all the way. Derrick Rose putting the Derrick. Now 44% from the field, 17 for 39. What a move by Rose. Oh! Yes, and it counts over Joel Anthony.
The firepower of the Heat would prove to be too much for Chicago in their first postseason meeting, with the Bulls dropping 4 games in a row to be eliminated in 5. Despite Rose averaging 23.4 points throughout the series and Chicago being the higher seed, the Bulls' chase for an NBA title would come to an end in South Beach.
Everything is a learning experience where we're definitely sad that we lost, but if anything, we'll take a lot from it, where we'll get closer as a team, get better, and the only thing we could do now is work on our games and in the summer and just try to get it next year.
Out that you bypassed the harder team in Miami Heat.
Rose came down bad on his left foot. See him holding on to his knee and down. He was flying and he came down wrong on the left foot. Now whether it was an ankle or a knee, I do not know. With the injury, we just talked about the 26 games he has missed.
Everything changed for Derrick Rose following his ACL injury in the 2012 NBA playoffs. He had once again been the team's all-star leader, but now would see his career flipped on its head by one of the most tragic injuries in NBA history. Over time, the sympathy of the sports world would turn into scrutiny, with many fans and media alike demanding answers for Rose's lack of time on the court, as more injuries began to pile up. Within the next 5 seasons, Derrick would undergo 3 separate knee surgeries that would contribute to him missing over 158 games during the stretch, a development that eventually led to the end of his time in Chicago.
I guess the MVP is the gift and the curse. You know, it's a gift because you're the youngest MVP ever, but it's a curse because you have to deal with really high scrutiny all the time. And he had to do it, you know, dealing with an ACL in a playoff game where, I mean, to me personally, it was like that year we had just lost in the conference finals to Miami, and we had upgrades and we were hungry and we were ready for all that smoke. And, you know, unfortunately, we didn't get back to that. And it's like, it just shows like you cannot take none of this for granted, because just like that, that's what I learned from the whole experience. It's just like you cannot take anything for granted in this league, because it just like that, the whole thing changes.
All right. I'm so nervous right now. I don't know why.
Why you want to talk to you?
Yeah. Cause he in New York right now.
Yeah, you just got that last night.
I hope nothing didn't happen. What's up, B?
We have big news in the sports world. Derrick Rose, the superstar, is being traded to New York Knicks.
Derrick was a big part of a lot of success that we've had here over the years. But going from where we were to where we want to head, we just really felt it was the right decision to make at this time.
It was just an emotional time for me. Chicago is more than just like a home. Like it grew me into the man I am today. It hurt a little bit, but at the end of the day, my life is out of my hands. I know everything is out of my control. the only thing I could do is just prep myself to become great.
Derrick Rose's trade to the New York Knicks from Chicago in the summer of 2016 marked the first step in a completely new chapter in his career. Finding himself outside of his hometown for the first time in his professional career, the Big Apple presented a new series of challenges. With the Knicks being firmly built around aging All-NBA star Carmelo Anthony and grooming a young Kristaps Porzingis to be the future of the franchise, it was unclear how he'd transition into becoming the third option. Team president and former NBA champion head coach Phil Jackson had established the Triangle offense in New York, a system that had won him 11 rings with both the Bulls and Lakers, and learning it to perfection is no easy task. That being said, despite still adjusting to the play style of the Knicks, Rose got off to a decent start in the 2016 season, putting up similar numbers to his previous season in Chicago while shooting a higher percentage from the field. Coming off his final injury-riddled seasons with the Bulls, it was clear that Derrick was still trying to figure out what he could and couldn't do on the basketball court, showing flashes of the explosiveness that had once made him one of the most unguardable players in the league, but obviously struggling to find his groove, with his body being unable to perform at the same level as before. Despite his play on the court, on January 9th, 2017, Rose would be at the center of one of the strangest events of the season and his career.
Missing. Just didn't show up for last night's Knicks game. The organization was so concerned it actually sent a staffer to his apartment. And then as the evening wore on, it finally came out that Rose had jumped on a plane to Chicago, but still hadn't contacted the team. Finally, late last night, Rose surfaced by telephone.
Just hit the Derrick. Right now we don't have enough information to really give you anything, so that's just going to have to wait until we hear something from Derrick himself.
I don't really want to talk too much about it because I don't really know what the situation is. Obviously, Derrick's one of our better players, and when he's not here, it's tough. Just happy that everything's okay with him.
What can you tell us about yesterday?
That was a family issue. For one, it had nothing to do with the team or basketball, but that's the first time I ever felt like that emotionally, and I had to be with my family.
Derrick's unexpected absence seemed to further strain not only his relationship with the franchise, but also added into the overarching team drama associated with the power struggle between stars Carmelo Anthony and Porzingis. These distractions, along with a lack of chemistry on the court, led to the Knicks struggling down the stretch of the regular season, and eventually missing the playoffs altogether. With only 8 games remaining on April 2nd, it was announced by the team that Rose would require surgery to repair a torn meniscus in his left knee, marking his 4th round of knee surgery in just 9 years, and ending his season indefinitely. Although the year as a whole had been filled with ups and downs, Rose managed to put together a respectable season prior to his injury. He averaged 18 points per game, his most since 2012, and ranked 4th in the NBA in points off of drives. However, it was clear that Rose needed to adjust his game in order to better fit the changing landscape of the league. He shot a career-low 21% from 3, at times looking completely unwilling to shoot from the perimeter, something that the Knicks had wanted to see him improve on. Now, Derrick would enter the 2017 offseason as a free agent for the first time in his career, and with him going through yet another intense rehab during the offseason, the questions began to raise about where Rose fit on an NBA roster.
There it is, redemption for Golden State. One of the great playoff runs of all time is complete.
Following a loss to Golden State in the 2017 NBA Finals, Cleveland was desperately looking for ways to match the star power of the Curry and KD-led Warriors. Due to Kyrie Irving's public display of unhappiness following the finals, the Cavs had pulled the trigger on a trade that sent him to Boston for 2017 MVP candidate Isaiah Thomas, who underwent major hip surgery in the offseason. With a hole in the roster left by Kyrie, the Cavs were forced to look for high-level players at a discount. Despite Rose coming off an injury, he had shown promise in his season with the Knicks, and the optimism in Cleveland was that he could take over the starting point guard duties, creating another scoring threat to add alongside LeBron.
How do you see yourself having to adapt in maybe a new role in a new franchise?
You know, I talked about this with Ty Lue, and right when I talked to him, he told me he would want me to play my game. And playing my game opens up everyone on the floor.
The kid has a lot to prove, you know, from competing against him from so many years, especially in Miami when he was with Chicago, knowing the competitor that he has, or he's been over the years. You know, been a fan of him for a long time, and I never thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be a teammate of his. I think he had a hell of a season last year, and people don't really see it because of the chaos that was going on in New York. Played 64 games, averaged 18 points and 4-4. You know, played 64 games. And I'm excited to have him here because I want people to know that D Rose can still play the game at a high level.
In just the third game of the season, Rose would be fouled hard by Bucks big man Greg Monroe, resulting in an inward ankle sprain that would cause him to miss the next 4 games. He would attempt to play through the injury, being given a minutes restriction by the coaching staff despite still starting. But when the Cavs announced on November 11, 2017 that Rose had stepped away from the team to recover from the injury, it was obvious that there was more to the situation than what could be seen from the surface.
It's not easy for a piece of news to seem both inevitable and shocking, but that's what it felt like over the holiday weekend when ESPN reported Derrick Rose has left the Cavaliers and is reconsidering his future playing basketball.
What is going on with Derrick Rose? Reports yesterday that he has left the team and is thinking about walking away maybe from the NBA for good. What are you hearing about this? What do you think about this?
Well, there's things that you hear about what's going on in his life off the court, and to be quite honest with you, people are not accustomed to hearing a journalist say this, but it's one of those situations right now where there are a bevy of individuals that are incredibly concerned about him as a person and as a human being, not as a basketball player. I'm not going to go as far as to say it's getting scary, but it does give you cause to pause, and it lends itself towards being concerned about where he's at psychologically and emotionally, because he just doesn't seem there right now.
Do you understand what he's going through? I mean, obviously.
It's impossible. None of us can understand what someone is going through. It's impossible. You can never. You just don't know.
After spending a few weeks away from the team contemplating its future, Rose would elect to return to the Cavs in December 2017, working out and practicing with the team while he recovered from not only the ankle injury he suffered, but also dealing with bone spurs that would keep him off the court until January 18th.
Can you tell us what you told the guys when you came back?
Just told them that I apologize for my actions, but I would like to say thanks to the whole franchise, Kobe, the front office, the players, the coaches, coaching staff. I'd like to say thank you for allowing me my privacy to keep my right state of mind and to keep my happiness.
How close were you to retirement?
I don't even want to get into all that, but I'm here. I'm here. Like I said, my teammates and everybody, that was one of the reasons why I came back.
In total, this mental and physical struggle by Rose resulted in him missing 36 of the 43 games played to this point, effectively severing his relationship with the Cavaliers organization and leaving him as the odd man out of the rotation. Derrick's time in Cleveland effectively marked the lowest point of his career. In only 16 games played, Rose had averaged a career-low 9 points per game, 1 assist per game, and shot an underwhelming 25% from 3 in only 16 minutes per game. As the 2018 trade deadline rolled around, the underperforming Cavaliers would elect to clean house, including a trade that would send Rose to the Utah Jazz and a 3-team deal with the Kings. Less than 48 hours later, it was announced that Rose would be waived by the Jazz without ever playing a game, resulting in Derrick being without a team for the first time in his career, and leaving many wondering about his future in the game. Just 6 years after being named the league's most valuable player, Derrick Rose was on the verge of being out of the NBA altogether.
I like Derrick. Listen, man, I like Derrick Rose a lot as a person. That's all I'm gonna say. You need quality backups.
Put it this way, Casey. Charles has been there. I've been there. Unfortunately, Derrick Rose is not the Derrick Rose of past. He's at the end of his career. He can be a good locker room guy, but listen, I like Derrick Rose, but it's over.
Just when it seemed as if Rose's professional playing career was in doubt, a month after being waived by Utah, Derrick received a call for a second chance, and it came from a familiar source. In his second year as the head coach and president of basketball operations for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Rose's former head coach in Chicago, Tom Thibodeau, offered his former star player a guaranteed deal for the rest of the season. With the Wolves in playoff contention and looking for depth to help with a late push, Rose accepted the opportunity, reuniting him with former teammates Jimmy Butler and Taj Gibson in the process.
I've been working out the entire time I've been out, just learning my routine, being a pro, and only thing I'm missing now is the opportunity. So talking to Tibbs, he's looking like he's going to give me that opportunity. So it's all about learning the guys and fitting in at the right time.
Considering there were only 9 games left in the regular season, Rose was given a limited role in the already established rotation in Minnesota. After clinching a playoff berth as the 8th seed, the Timberwolves were matched up with the top team in the West, the Houston Rockets, for their first round matchup. In his first playoff appearance since 2015, Rose was given increased minutes off the bench, undoubtedly due to the trust that Coach Thibodeau had in him from their postseason runs in Chicago. Although the Wolves would fall to Houston 4-1 in the series, Rose had shown signs of life on the stage, averaging 14 points per game in 23 minutes and providing some much-needed second-unit scoring and veteran experience during the series. This performance was enough to prove that Rose was still capable of contributing when his team needed him most, and Minnesota elected to re-sign him for the 2018-19 season. The 2018 offseason proved to be a turning point in Derrick Rose's career. For the first time in over 3 years, he wasn't having to endure a lengthy rehab process over the summer, and he had the stability of knowing that he was returning to the same team for a second year in a row. This combination proved to be priceless for Rose's physical and mental approach to the game, allowing him to direct his efforts towards working on the weaknesses in his game and expand a new skill set that better fit his body's needs. The result was the rebirth of the former MVP. And after proving he could thrive in Minnesota, Derrick was sure to have a larger role heading into the season. It was apparent right from the start that Rose had the confidence of the coaching staff, playing almost 30 minutes per game off the bench early in the year. With a refreshed mindset and a much more paced and calculated approach, D. Rose had been hungry to show what he was capable of. And on October 31st, 2018, he'd be given the perfect opportunity. On Halloween night, the Timberwolves were scheduled to host the Utah Jazz in a late-night contest. Due to injuries to a couple of Minnesota starters, including star player Jimmy Butler, Derrick was pushed into the starting lineup, asked by the coaching staff to carry more of the load offensively, and Rose was more than ready. Coming out noticeably aggressive, he would score 8 of the Wolves' first 10 points, hunting for his shots and looking to get to his spots on the floor. After a 16-point first-half performance that saw his team up by 9, Derrick walked back onto the court for the second half, and his career would never be the same. Over the next hour, Rose would accomplish a feat that many had believed would never be possible for him again, attacking the Jazz possession after possession. Whether it be out of the pick and roll, off the dribble moves one-on-one, or knocking down tough three-pointers, Utah had no answer for Rose on this night, and as the buckets began pouring in, so did the eyes from across the globe. As the fourth quarter got underway, countless fans sat on the edge of their seats, witnessing Derrick come alive for the first time since he had been a young star in Chicago. The Jazz had fought hard in the second half, taking the lead just as Rose checked back into the game with only 10 minutes remaining. However, this night belonged to the MVP.
5. Rose, who had 19 in the third quarter, has his first points of the fourth quarter.
When the pick and pop was there, Towns would have popped.
Rose. Derrick Rose has 41. One off of his NBA career high. Rose out of the corner, and it's a new career high for Derrick Rose.
That's crazy.
Already a career high 44.
A lot of dribbling.
The stop, the go, the finish. 46 for Rose. And the Wolves back on top. Rose gets inside, puts up a tough shot, and hits it anyway. 48. A half a century for Derrick Rose here tonight. Rose will fire for three. That won't drop. Another rebound. Exum has it blocked in the corner by who else? Derrick, 2011 MVP, Rose.
Everybody just streams out on the floor to greet him, showing the respect. And they all know what this means to him. They know what he's lost and now what he's trying to find. What a great moment for Derrick Rose. And all the stuff that he's been through, too.
You could not have scripted a better ending to this game for the Timberwolves. And you see the emotion on Derrick Rose's face. A 50-point effort.
A huge victory for this team, and it comes from you and your career high 50 points. What does it mean to you, Derrick?
Everything, man. I worked my ass off, bro. I wouldn't have did this for the franchise, the organization, the fans, everybody, man. I wouldn't be able to play the way I play, man.
Rose's career-high 50-point performance against the team that had waived him just 7 months prior is one of the most inspiring and emotional moments in recent NBA history. Just 1 year after he had been on the verge of retirement, weighed down by his constant battle with injuries, Derrick had ascended out of the depths and proven he was still one of the game's best.
Why do you think you got so emotional after the game?
I think it all came from just knowing how much hard work I put into my craft, put into my body, just prepping myself, and just knowing one day that if I get the opportunity, I'm going to run with it. And that was my way of showing that I was running with any opportunity that I get.
Riding the momentum of his historic performance, Rose continued to show that he was a new player, showcasing a crafty skill set and improved shooting touch that breathed fresh life into his career. During a late December game in his hometown of Chicago, he had received MVP chants from the loyal fan base on his way to 24 points, a moment that gave flashbacks to the days that D. Rose had been the heart and soul of the city.
Returning to Chicago, you can see there was a little bit of emotion behind your game tonight, was there not?
Yeah, it was a lot of love here, man. I've been dealing with tickets all day. It's been havoc, but I'm happy everybody was able to come, and I'm happy everybody came out and support. So it just shows that I'm very, very loved here.
You getting MVP chance like that had to feel pretty special.
That's very special, man. Made me reminisce a little bit.
By mid-January, he would become the newest addition to the 10,000 career points club, a feat that no doubt seemed far away the previous season. A few days later, on January 20th, 2019, he'd continue adding to that total. Derrick would drop 31 on the visiting Suns, 29 of which came in the second half alone. With the game tied and only 23 seconds remaining, Minnesota had the ball, and everyone knew who was taking the final shot.
10 seconds. Rose with Bridges on him. Rose looks to go. 2 seconds. Rose off balance. It doesn't matter because he drilled it. Derrick Rose deserves to be an all-star. He certainly is tonight.
Throughout the season, Rose would continue to thrive in his sixth-man role with the Timberwolves. However, as tensions rose between disgruntled star Jimmy Butler and the rest of the organization, drama began to derail the team's playoff hopes. With Minnesota firmly out of the postseason race and Derrick set to enter free agency the following offseason, on March 21st, the team announced that he would forgo the rest of the season to recover from a right elbow injury. The 2018-19 season with the Timberwolves proved to be the perfect situation for Rose. It gave him a comfortable environment surrounded by staff and teammates who believed in him, where he could develop new aspects of his game and rebuild confidence. He would average 18 points per game to go with 4.3 assists in 27 minutes per game, and most notably had shot a then career high 37% from beyond the arc. After what had seemed like an ending to his professional career the year before, Rose had completely reestablished himself in the NBA, and now with free agency on the horizon, he hoped to continue his new journey. Having officially reminded everyone what he was capable of at basketball's highest level, there was only one goal on Rose's mind heading into the 2019 offseason: joining a competitive team who was looking to make a playoff push. On June 30th, it was announced that Derrick would sign a 2-year, $15 million contract with the Detroit Pistons, who were coming off their first playoff appearance in 3 years. The Pistons were far from favorites to win the title, but had a solid pair of all-star bigs in Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, and had hoped that Rose would bring a much-needed scoring threat off the bench.
You turned heads across the basketball world when you said you saw the opportunity here. Where is that optimism when you look at this team, this franchise, and coming to the Pistons?
Just throughout my whole life, I always took chances on myself. But for myself, I see a lot of opportunity, and with us being in the East, you never know what can happen.
It was evident from the beginning that Rose was ready to contribute, pouring in 31 points on 67% shooting in just the third game of the season against the Sixers. Rose put up consistent numbers throughout the season, stepping up as the primary scoring threat on the team. During a regular season game against the Pelicans in early December, he was once again trusted with the ball in his hands at the end of the game, and he once again proved why he holds a place amongst the NBA's best closers.
They're clearing out the whole right side for Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose against Drew Holiday, and he's got a little mid-range. That's it. It's over. Detroit Pistons win it and got what they wanted at the end of the game.
As Rose continued to see his minutes increase on the court, his production followed, resulting in him becoming the first player in franchise history to record 7 straight 20-point games as a reserve. This stretch of games resulted in Derrick being named the starter by mid-January, and the streak of consecutive 20-point games grew to 14, a new career high. The Pistons never quite saw their season come together, but Rose himself had a second straight productive year, averaging 18.1 points per game and 5.6 assists per game, both marking the most since 2012 when he was an all-star. As the 2020 season was cut short due to COVID-19 and Detroit was set to enter rebuild mode, 2021 saw Rose being shopped around the trade market to a contending team. And the perfect fit just so happened to be a familiar place. On February 8th, 2021, the Detroit Pistons traded Derrick Rose to the New York Knicks in return for Dennis Smith Jr. and a draft pick. This move once again reunited Rose with both his former coach Tom Thibodeau and teammate Taj Gibson on a Knicks team that was in the heart of the playoff race, ranking 7th in the Eastern Conference. Although New York already had a crowded backcourt of young guards, the team was in desperate need of veteran leadership and a perimeter scoring threat, a role that Rose fit perfectly.
I feel like that plays a huge role, but my confidence has always been there, even though I'm not the same player, like reckless or explosive player. I feel like I'm skilled. I feel like I've been working on my game after all my injuries, and it's about just showing it and adapting. And now I have the luxury of playing with young energy. They bring more life to me whenever I'm on the floor, and it's just a new experience for me. So I'm very grateful to be here.
It took Derrick several games to get adjusted, but similar to Minnesota, the trust that the coaching staff and teammates had in him was evident from the start. As Rose began to produce and his minutes grew, it was clear that he was becoming a fan favorite in Madison Square Garden, with the city embracing him despite his rocky first stint with the franchise 5 years prior. In his 34 games played during the regular season with New York, he averaged 14.9 points and 4 assists per game, while also shooting a career-high 38% from the perimeter, continuing the evolution of his game. The team as a whole hit their stride down the stretch, winning 14 of their final 18 games on the way to finishing 4th in the Eastern Conference. Rose's performance didn't go unnoticed, being named a 6th Man of the Year finalist for the 2021 season and even receiving one single MVP vote from a member of the media. That being said, with the postseason right around the corner, playoff basketball had returned to New York City, and it was time to shift focus to the real reason Rose had returned to the Mecca.
Weekend here for New York sports fans as several stadiums and arenas expanded capacity for fully vaccinated fans, and that included Madison Square Garden, where of course the Knicks had their first playoff game of the season.
Playing in their first postseason since 2013, no franchise would benefit from having in-person fans more than the Knicks, setting the stage for what would be the biggest indoor gathering in New York City since the pandemic began. And on May 23rd, Game 1 was set to tip off. In his first playoff appearance since 2018, Rose was clearly focused, and he would be relied on as a primary scorer out of the backcourt. As the game got underway, it was clear that the Hawks weren't fazed by the loud atmosphere, with rising star Trae Young putting on a show despite being on the road. It became apparent that the young pieces of the Knicks roster lacked the playoff experience needed to compete, and it wasn't long before the coaching staff turned to Rose to run the offense. Derrick was aggressive throughout the entire game, scoring 17 points in 37 minutes, well above his average time on the court in the regular season. While the Knicks would take the loss in Game 1, D. Rose had shown he could be effective during his minutes on the floor, and he was sure to play a bigger role in the must-win Game 2. With all eyes on the Garden and another capacity crowd in attendance, the Knicks knew that their best chance of victory would be to run more of the offense through the veteran experience of Derrick Rose. Down early in Game 2, Rose would check in at the 6-minute mark of the first quarter, and immediately came out aggressive. After getting all the way to the rim for a tough right-handed finish, everyone watching could tell Rose was out to prove something on the big stage, and Knicks fans couldn't be more excited. Derrick would go on to score 14 in the first half, the only New York player in double figures. But with Trae Young continuing his elevated performance, the Hawks had jumped out to a 13-point lead at the break. Coach Tom Thibodeau was faced with a big decision considering the momentum of the series and the balance, and after seeing Rose's continued success in the first half, elected to start his former All-Star point guard for the second half. The Knicks were assertive out of the locker room, starting to chip away at the Hawks' lead from the first possession, with Rose finding All-Star forward Julius Randle for a quick three. Derrick would have his own three-point shot working throughout the quarter, knocking down a pair of triples in the third and finding his spots attacking off the dribble. Thanks to contributions from other veterans like Reggie Bullock and Taj Gibson, the Knicks were able to go on a run down the stretch, and as the dust settled, came out with their first playoff win in over 8 years. Rose would walk away with 26 points on the night, leading the team in scoring and proving he was still capable of playing big minutes come playoff time.
Derrick, thank you very much. Ernie Johnson here with Kenny and Charles and Shaq.
What's good? What's good?
Good. Hey, so how you feeling? You averaged about 28 minutes a game in the regular season. You logged 39 tonight. How you feeling? And tell me about this win and how you guys pulled it off when you were down double digits in the third.
Oh, man, I've been dreaming about this moment for a long time. In the past, people said I couldn't play the minutes. They was worried about it, but I knew all along how much hard work I put into it. Like I said, in practice, I'll be on my feet for 2 hours. So you tell me I can't play like 30 minutes in a game with the way that I changed, the way that I played. So I'm happy with my endurance. I'm happy that we got the win tonight too. Took a lot out of it.
Derrick's contributions in Game 2 paid off, as it was announced prior to Game 3 in Atlanta that he would get the start at point guard, his first playoff start since 2015. With the faith of the coaching staff and city behind him, Rose was in attack mode on offense, sizing up defenders and hunting for his patented shots around the mid-range and perimeter. The momentum from the previous game had clearly carried over, and fans all over the world enjoyed seeing Rose competing at a high level in the spotlight. Unfortunately for the Knicks, Rose was the only bright spot for their offense, as the rest of the team shot less than 30% from the field combined. The Hawks were relentless from beyond the arc, something New York was unable to keep up with, leading to Atlanta walking away with an 11-point win and all the momentum of the series. Regardless, Derrick Rose had scored 30 points in the performance, leading the game and marking his highest point total in a postseason game since 2015. Similar to the previous game, he had done so in over 38 minutes of playing time, a volume that many had believed he'd never be able to withstand again. Although the Knicks would go on to lose the series in 5 games to the underseeded Hawks, the statement made by Rose still stood strong. He had showcased exactly why he still deserved to be called one of the game's best, answering questions about his durability and letting the world know that he was more than capable of producing elite numbers. The Derrick Rose that had put the Knicks on his back during the 2021 playoffs was far from the same person we had seen struggle through previous seasons. This was a man that had been through the darkest of valleys and came out on the other side stronger than ever before. The story of Derrick Rose's career is full of triumphant highs and devastating lows. The 6'3" point guard had captured the attention of fans across the globe, playing with a flair that routinely raised the crowd out of their seats. And just as quickly as he had taken over the league, he was gone. Faced with the incredible challenge of rebuilding himself both on and off the court, the odds were always stacked against him. Nobody expects a kid from the streets of Chicago to grow into the face of the city. Nobody expects a former MVP to return from 4 knee surgeries, reviving his career after being one step away from never playing the game again. Nobody but D. Rose.
Who gonna break first? Like, I'm gonna try to break you first before you get to me. And I felt like that's what made my competitive edge, like at a high level, pushed me to a high level, because I was willing to do anything on that court to win that game. And that's what people saw, like from my rookie year all the way till I won like the MVP. Like, oh, like this little nigga, like I can't put a finger on it, but he different. But you know what I'm saying? And that's what it was.
You see, no matter what the world had to say, Rose never let the obstacles in his path dictate his approach. Instead, he's accepted every challenge, adapted, and found a new way to keep pushing forward. No matter how this story ends, whether Rose finally gets the chance to make a push for a ring with a contending team, or if he someday quietly rides off into the sunset, we will always be able to look back at the inspirational journey of a man who never stopped getting up in the face of adversity. A life lesson straight from the pages of the Book of Derrick Rose.